Yeah, anyway, so Google and Apple are onto me. This is why my phone runs out of battery so quickly. So I am Irina Bolashevsky, also one of the hosts of Citizen Beta, and I put myself on the speaker list. You're welcome. And I wanted to talk to you about breaking big tech open. So I'm here sort of representing redecentralized.org, which is an institute and a movement working to democratize the internet so that we have a more equitable digital space that empowers people instead of leaving people feeling exploited. So I'm one of the founders and the director, and I think we know that there is a problem, right? I mean, apart from this whole shit show with the slides situation, we are living in an age where increasingly society is waking up to the fact that we have huge unaccountable power. I mean, Amazon doesn't even pay their taxes, for God's sake, let alone the kind of the spread of fake news or voter suppression that happens on these platforms. We have a huge centralization of data that is being used to exploit people, and is also like a honeypot of attack, and you know, all these companies face numerous data breaches, which often result in death or horrific consequences for people, and there's very little being done about it. So, over the last few years, here's the table that I mentioned earlier. That actually took me a while. And one of the things that people increasingly notice is we have these companies that not only are massive in themselves. I mean, they have like, I haven't left Apple, I've left Apple off for fun, but like they have more money than most nation states, and yet they're still buying up other companies and increasing the amount of power and data and influence that they have. So in response to this, these are acquisitions. So Google or Alphabet obviously acquired YouTube quite a while ago, but DoubleClick advertising platform, Nest, DeepMind, just think of the data in these organizations. Obviously Facebook, I found that they acquired a company called Face. And I just wanted to add that in. It's actually for face recognition, so it's wonderful that when they listen into your conversation, they can also just recognize your face, presumably. And obviously Amazon and Microsoft. So we've kind of, in response, seen politicians starting to say, okay, enough is enough, we need to start breaking these companies up. So quite famously, Elizabeth Warren, one of the Democratic candidates, kind of put out this Medium post talking about we need to do something, so that she talks about two key things. One, which is actually kind of reversing some of these mergers that have happened or acquisitions that she believes are anti-competitive. But secondly, or firstly, in her blog post, distinguishing between platform providers and services and utilities. So this is about saying that a company can't both be the kind of intermediary platform that connects buyers and sellers, as well as selling. And the reason that this is a problem is, you know, you've probably seen some of the stories or not, but there's been several suits and lawsuits around Google putting their services on top in search results because they own search. Amazon, you know, having a platform for people to sell things through, but you know, with all the data of knowing who does well, putting out their own Amazon Basics competing products, which they own and they obviously then can gain the most amount of profit on. Again, prioritizing that in search results, you know, variously using the fact that they control the platform to sell more of their product. So this is deeply anti-competitive, and like generally is these organizations are stifling innovation and have actually killed off hundreds of thousands of businesses. In the case of Facebook, you can't really compete on the price because it's free, and you can't compete on the amount of data they have, which is what they leverage to make money because they're selling adverts. Similarly with Amazon, they've done really well by pushing the prices so low. So I think, so kind of finishing up, I think this is really great, and I think this is really important, and it's really wonderful that politicians are starting to address these things in these savvy ways. But basically, I just don't think it's enough. I think we need to do a lot more. And I have two key things. One is that breaking these organizations up, or even saying you have to be either a service provider or a platform provider, doesn't actually address the toxic business models that exist. It doesn't change the fact that I can't not use Facebook without being socially excluded. Like, I can be socially excluded, which, fine, I have some friends in real life, so it's not going to be the end of the world. But if I choose to not have a Facebook account because I don't agree with their terms and conditions, then I have consequences. And breaking these companies up isn't going to change that. And the thing that I want to get to is we're in a position where these companies are really running our social digital infrastructure. I mean, it's like how we communicate, it's how we learn, it's how we work nowadays, it's how we find places, find people. And the fact that they're owned by a Silicon Valley company is a problem. So I think we don't just need to break up big tech, we need to break them open. And by that, I mean we need to start pushing for and regulating open protocols. So this is something like ensuring interoperability. So whenever there's an organization that has a network or a platform, it needs to be open in such a way that other companies can use that network or platform. So it's kind of a bit of a hard thing to explain because it's quite technical, so I'm going to explain with examples. And the example I want to use is like the internet. You've heard of the internet, it's great. The internet is an open protocol. Anyone can use it, same as the web. Anyone can create a web page. The reason we have things like Google search is because it lets us find things on the web. If we were all just on FaceNet, FaceNet would have their own search and we wouldn't need any other alternative search because everything is on FaceNet. We don't have that. We have lots and lots of web pages representing many individuals, companies, governments, organizations, all on one open platform. In the same way, email is still an open protocol. If you try and email a Hotmail account from a Gmail account, it goes through. I mean, it's amazing. Like, you do not get a message saying, I'm really sorry, you're gonna sign up for a Hotmail account to email another Hotmail account. That doesn't happen, right? It just works. And this is why email is so ubiquitous. And yet, we have this when it comes to Facebook Messenger and Twitter. You can't message someone on Facebook or Twitter or Google Chat or whatever without having an account and without signing up to these terms of service, which is basically technically kind of bullshit because it's easy. And in fact, there used to be standards like XMPP, which supported such instant communication across these organizations where you didn't even need to necessarily have an account, which have been dropped. These monopolies are not natural. They are designed to be such, and enough is enough. So one of the things, that's because I'm running out of time, I wanted to say is that there are in fact lots of standards exist. So I used to be at W3C and looking at things like ActivityPub. Part of the problem is Facebook and Twitter, and they don't show up, right? But Mastodon Social, for example, conforms to ActivityPub. So all the different instances of Mastodon talk to each other through this protocol. You could actually write a completely different software that also uses the same protocol and everyone could communicate. So how would this work in practice? This was the other diagram that took a really long time. Thank you. I put thought and energy into this. So the way this could look like in the future is I would be using my amazing encrypted private Banksant social service to create an event. Ta-da, Citizen Beta 2020 annual party. I would invite people on my service, my privacy-loving friends, on email, on Vine, Twitter, Facebook, maybe others, and they would be able to RSVP, comment, get updates, everything, and interact with my event without my data ever being stored by any of these people, right? This is possible technically with open protocols. So that's the beautiful future that we could have. And it would mean that people could choose to either write their own service. This could be something I write, or it could be something that I buy and pay for, or it could be open source software that I install and other people use. In order to get this to happen, we, as a society and as governments, need to fund standards work, adoption work, and alternatives. So one of the things that I do is support alternative internet ecosystems, and we do need to look at regulation. And yes, this is going to take time, but I think now is the moment, and the appetite is there. At minimum, we need to require sort of network platforms to have open, comprehensive APIs without interoperability. So, like, Twitter used to be much more open, you can build things to talk to it, and they shut a lot of that down. And really, we should start pushing for these kind of standard open protocol approaches. What I'm working on right now is forming coalitions and working groups around this. So there's a lot of people who've been thinking about this, or starting to talk about this, or have worked on this in the past. So if you know anyone who is interested, get in touch, let me know. I wanted to also do a shout out to my friend Gerben, who actually came up with a brilliant title for this talk. So there's lots of kind of energy and enthusiasm here. So get involved, tell your friends, especially tell politicians, and thank you very much.